Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Learn with Jason. Today on the show, we have Bekah Hawrot Weigel. Thank you so much for joining us today. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
I am thrilled about today because we're doing things that I don't understand, which is always my favorite kind of episode. We're going to be talking a little bit about machine learning, TensorFlow Js, but before we talk about any about that, I would love to talk a little bit about you. So for folks who aren't familiar with your work, do you want to give us a background on who you are, what you're up to, what you're into, all those things?
Yeah, for sure. So I don't have a traditional background. I taught college English part-time for 10 years before coming into tech. And so I just made the transition a couple of years ago. And so I've been a front end developer doing contract work for a while now. I mostly work with React, which, by the way, when I graduated boot camp, I thought I would never work with React. I thought for sure I was going to be doing Ruby and Rails. And so it was a challenge to me, but I really enjoy doing it now. I also started the community, the developer community, Virtual Coffee. You can find it at virtualcoffee.io. So I get to hang out with lots of cool developers all the time and learn lots of new things. And this is one of the things that I was inspired. Gant Laborde comes to Virtual Coffee and he has a book out, and I dove into this book, and it's been such a great experience to be able to learn something new and to be able to talk about it.
That's awesome. And thank you, Rochelle, for the sub. Very much appreciated. I just dropped a link to virtualcoffee.io into the chat for everybody. Um, so let's talk a little bit about, like, Gant Laborde. I saw him. He's in the chat. What's up, Gant? Good to see you. So we've had Gant on the show before, and we've done a little bit with TensorFlow, but it's always kind of been like, yeah, TensorFlow. Let's do something else, right? So we don't like talk about TensorFlow itself. We tend to kind of jump right into a project, and so I'm really excited for today to just talk about it in the more abstract. So, what is TensorFlow?
Yeah, maybe I'm going to back up just a little bit, if
Sure.
that's okay, and talk about machine learning and kind of how I got here. So when we're thinking about machine learning, we're creating a place where computers can take data sets and label them and analyze them, and they can come out with some usable data, I guess you can say.
Hmm.
And so, of course, we as humans can do all of that, but computers can do it on a much larger and faster scale. So, the potential for what can happen through machine learning is really, I think, very fascinating, because this is how we can make advances in so many different places and industries. And
Hmm.
so, I think starting there and seeing like, okay, well, what is the goal that you have in mind? Um, and what path should you go down? And that's kind of how I started being interested in machine learning, because I went to a talk from Guy Royce at Revolution Conf a couple of years ago.
Hmm.
It was on Dungeons and Dragons and machine learning, which I didn't know anything about either of those things. I was just learning how to code. But he gave the talk in a way that I thought, oh, I know how this could have been used in my life to prevent some of the challenges that I had been facing, through this idea of, well, we could take these images and we can find a way to label them and
Hmm.
to detect certain problems that someone might be facing. And so for me, I had gone through an issue where I had some of my organs ruptured. And I thought this, in that moment, I was like, this was predictable. As he's talking about Dungeons and Dragons, I'm like, I know this story, but in a very different and personal way.
Yeah.
And it just took me down this path of, this is something I know that I want to learn, and I'm very excited about this. So for me, it's been this whole personal journey of understanding, like, okay, we could use this to solve problems for so many more people, because what happened to me is going to happen to other people as well. And so how
Hmm.
do we prevent these things from continuing to happen? And so Deep Medicine, I think, is the name of a book by Dr. Eric Topol. And he talks a lot about the medical applications for it. And it's one of my favorites. I have it actually right behind me because this is what I like to refer to. Let's see. Oh, that's excellent. I did a good job of getting that in the camera and not blinding everybody. Sorry. It's deep medicine, how artificial intelligence can make healthcare human again. And so for me, I'm not a data scientist. I think data is fascinating and I love to be able to keep track of data. And it's not that I'm not a big fan of Dungeons and Dragons. I've just never played it. So the potential is there. One day I will be cool enough to play Dungeons and Dragons. So I don't have a huge experience with data and working with data. And at that point, I was a front-end developer. And so I'm like, okay, how can I still figure out what something that's meaningful and something that takes me closer to this idea of being able to create an impact on projects that can help a number of people or that can allow access to information that hasn't been provided before.
Sure.
And so this is kind of like where TensorFlow came along. And so TensorFlow is software that can create machine learning models for desktop, web, mobile, and cloud. Mm-hmm. And so when we talk about TensorFlow Js, I'm trying to follow along with the chat. Sorry, I get so distracted.
No worries,
I love the chat and then I get distracted by what I'm saying. When we talk about TensorFlow JS, what that means is that we can run this in the browser. And if we're talking about it on the larger scale of what is really interesting about being able to run it in the browser, well, it provides access, I think, to so many more front-end developers that haven't had access to it. So historically, it's been something that's belonged more to back-end languages and to Python. And so for me to have access to it would mean learning another language, which I think like we all have potential to do that, but to be able to explore it from this perspective, I think is really great because also I don't have the typical perspective of someone that's been working with Python for years. My approach to, how we can use it for front end development is lost an earring, is really something that I think allows more people to contribute and to shape what it's going to look like. And for me, that's super important because the more voices we have out there, the better. I'm not a Fortnite gamer either. I'll play some euchre. Card games are good.
Ooh, euchre. All right.
Do you play euchre?
I play canasta. That's which I think is like almost the same rules. But that's like how my family spends time together because we can't just like sit around and talk.
Yes.
But we can absolutely play cards for 4 hours straight.
For sure. No, that is exactly my family too. So either we're moving or we're playing cards and that's awesome. It's like such a regional thing. Everybody has their own card game, I think.
Yeah. And I really do think like, I feel like somebody taught me euchre and I was like, wait, this is just canasta. And then they were like, and then this, and I was like, wait, that's not canasta.
I'm like writing down canasta and I'm going to check it out.
Okay. So, I mean, this is fascinating. There was one question that I thought was interesting, which is, does machine learning require math and calculus knowledge, or can you just start with the coding knowledge you have now?
So, and this is another reason why I love TensorFlow JS, because it allows you to almost immediately access it. If you understand some JavaScript, and actually there's so many great tutorials out there that you can just kind of work through and learn as you go. And I'll say there's lots of different approaches to learning. And for me, I'm still learning TensorFlow JS, but I think it's important to be able to learn about these things and talk about them. Mm-hmm. But, some people will say like, we have to learn JavaScript before you learn React. And I think that that's fair. For some people that might work, but for others, like learn in the way that is most accessible to you. And so for a lot of people, that might be starting with React. And then as things click, you're like, oh, okay, now I understand a little bit more about JavaScript. And so
Yeah.
there's, nothing to say that you should do it one way or another.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's always this discussion of like, what should you learn or what shouldn't you learn? And I think at the bottom of it all is like, sure, if you learn everything, your life is going to be easier. Like, if you learn the thing underneath the thing, of course you're going to have a better understanding of how it works. But you don't need to learn the thing under the thing to use it. You can just learn the thing you have to do, and that's okay.
Right.
Um, yeah, that's been a big. I think that's a big thing, especially for me. Is I don't like it when people are like, well, you can't do that until you've learned X, because like I remember when I was first getting into coding, I was trying to write some HTML stuff, and I asked questions about Flash, and somebody was like, well, before I tell you that, can you tell me this like piece of trivia about HTML? And I didn't know it, and they were like, you're not ready for Flash yet. And I was like, cool, now I hate you. Like,
Right.
I'll go Google it, I guess.
Right. Well, and also, like, there are some people that have great memories. I do not have a great memory. I am a really good note taker,
Mm-hmm.
and I will refer back to that. But for me, it's not, if you put me on the spot, I'm not going to be able to answer all the questions, but I can for sure figure out how to look them up or say, like, I know I have this in these notes here. Let me go grab that. And so I think, getting back to TensorFlow JS, this idea is we can get these things up and running. There are models that are created for us that allow us to do this. And I think that the most important part is allowing yourself the ability to explore this and how you are doing it and getting excited about it, because that's what's ultimately going to lead to what you're going to do next. Do you want to
Mm-hmm.
deep dive? The more you know it, obviously the better, because then you can start, training your own models or adjusting existing models or working off of data sets to do something new and different. But I say get started with something that excites you and see how you go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Russian noob from LA asked, "What's a good test project to learn with TensorFlow?" We're gonna try that out today, so just stick with us. And then another question was around doing ML in the browser. Is it way more limited than a backend server with all the extra gear? I mean, I think the answer is yes, right? Like if you've got more equipment, you can do more work. Um,
Right.
but that
And I
doesn't mean
mean,
we can't do cool stuff, right?
exactly. And that's you can always be building and doing new things and exciting things with what you're doing. Start at a place that you can learn and understand, and then start moving forward and being able to do those other things. Like, Airbnb uses TensorFlow for things, and
Mm-hmm.
there's lots of cool things that you certainly can do that build off of the understanding.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I should is now a good time to start actually trying this and seeing what we can get built?
Yeah, I think we can certainly go in that direction.
Let's do it. I'm going to move us over into pair programming view here. And before we get started, I just want to do a quick shout out. We have live captioning on the show, like on every show. That is available on the homepage, learnwithjason.dev. And that is provided by White Coat Captioning. So thank you so much for being here. It makes such a big difference to have a real person doing the captioning. So thank you, White Coat. And that is made possible through the support of our sponsors. They all kick in a little cash. We've got Netlify, Fauna, Hasura, and Auth0 all kicking in to make this show more accessible to more people. While you're clicking things on the internet, make sure you go and check out Bekah on the Twitter. That is a good account to follow. You're going to learn a bunch of cool things. You can find virtualcoffee.io. Speaking of which, here's another link to that. And today we're talking about TensorFlow, but specifically we're talking about TensorFlow JS. So here is a link to TensorFlow JS. And so the difference, if I'm understanding correctly, is that so TensorFlow is like the way that you do machine learning, like you train models using the TensorFlow kind of setup. And then TensorFlow JS is a way to access the underlying stuff that TensorFlow does, but using JavaScript.
Right. Yeah. So there are different versions of TensorFlow that you can do different things with, but this will let us run it in the browser. You also can use Node.js with this. I'm pretty sure I haven't done that because it does not play nicely with my MacBook M1, but I'm getting there. I'm moving in that direction.
Great. Okay, so if we're ready to start here, like what's the first thing I should do?
So we are going to be working with Cocoa SSD today. And okay, yes, that is there. Okay, so they have this nice little cocodataset.org Explorer, and they have a way of showing you how it works. And so we're going to be doing some image detection and looking through that. So this is a good way to just kind of test it out. So if you want to click, maybe a couple of those images and then run a search, you'll see what we've got going on.
Here's an umbrella and I see pizza. So let's do it.
See.
Okay, so this one is detecting all sorts of stuff, including there's pizza. Oh, this is cool. So you hover over the thing and it shows you the thing. And then it's like, oh, there are people. So you can see the people. Here's an umbrella. Oh, and that's also just like a tricky identification in general. That's a blurry umbrella in the background.
Right. And sometimes you'll find it's more accurate than others depending on what you're doing and how you're looking at it. But I don't know, this feels like a little bit of a playground to see, like, actually I found one that had like a refrigerator and a bear in it, just clicking around to see the most ridiculous things.
Yeah. Yeah, so you get your pizza, you've got umbrellas in the background, you've got a bench somewhere. Oh, there's the bench. Just look, this tiny little bit gets identified as a bench. That's impressive. You get some cars, a truck. Wow, it can identify a car like around his nose. That's pretty impressive.
So there's 80 classes of objects that they're looking at here. And so it's obviously not going to detect everything in the image, but what it does is allow you to look at and classify certain things.
Now let's see if it has an opinion on whether or not hot dogs are a sandwich. Okay, so there is no hot dog. Wait, this is the hot dog? And it thinks that's a sandwich?
Oh, okay. Is that a hot dog?
Is that a hot dog? That kind of looks like a sandwich to me. All right, let's see.
There you go. There's your answer.
There's the answer.
Hot dog is a sandwich.
Yeah, it's definitely got some. Oh, whoa, that one. Wait, these are both the same thing, right? So it thinks one is a hot dog and one is a sandwich. Okay, well, there's our answer. We have no idea.
It doesn't know. It does not know either. Nobody knows for sure.
I love it. Okay, this is great. Okay, so this is the data set that we're going to use that will do this identification.
Yeah, and each of those classes of objects has a name and an ID and a label. And so what you're seeing here with things like pizza, that would be your label for that class of objects. And so that's how it goes through and identifies it. And you'll see as we make our predictions with the images that it will identify those things as well.
Interestingly, this thinks a hot dog is pizza.
I feel like that just blew my mind. Now I need to figure out.
A new mystery has entered the chat. Okay, so to use this, then we can use this data set with TensorFlow.
Yes.
And to do that,
we are gonna spin up a new project, and we are going to need TensorFlow Js. And we're going to have to load that model. And we're also going to be using Parcel to, I hope I said that right, because I've only read it, also to be looking at this in the browser.
Is it just Parcel like that?
It is Parcel-Bundler.
Parcel Bundler. Okay. And then I need, come on, buddy.
So the last one would be, it's TensorFlow -models/Cocoa-SSD.
Okay. I'm gonna need you to walk me through those one more time once
That's
this
fine, when it's
parcel one
done.
finishes. Okay, so it was TensorFlow.
Dash models
Okay, 1 second. It's TensorFlow models,
slash,
Cocoa.
yeah, dash
Okay,
SSD.
and then the other one that we needed was TensorFlow. Is it prefix like that?
It is TensorFlow slash TFJS.
TFJS. And was there another one that I needed?
That was the three. That's all we need.
Okay, let's get these in here. Thank you for the elevator music, Nikki. And there we go. Okay, so we've got these ready. Let me open this up here. And it's going to open in the wrong window, so we'll move it over here. All right, so inside of this, we have nothing yet. It is just set up with parcel as a bundler and our dependencies set up here for TensorFlow.
Yeah.
So what is my next step?
So I'd say our next step is probably to create an index.html file.
Okay.
And so there are two different ways that you can run this. So you can run this.
Is that right? Sorry, that's sound effects.
Like,
I forgot to warn you about the high level of chaos on this show.
We can go ahead and run this with a script, and I probably should have sent this to you beforehand. Let's see here. Or we can go ahead and use Parcel to run it. So actually, we're going to go ahead. So I put that in the Zoom
I see
chat.
it. Yep, I will.
It? And then we're going to add this other one too.
Transcribe between the two, but that's okay because I can type fast. You get cdn.jsdeliver.net npm, and then so we're not actually going to install it. We're going to pull it in from a CDN, which is great.
And then we'll move to that next. So I just wanted to say, like, this for me was the easiest way to go ahead and get things up and running. One of the biggest frustrations I had getting started with learning TensorFlow was getting started with getting TensorFlow running. And so I think, there's a really nice community out there. If you need help, definitely reach out to people for help and check existing issues for things. But being able to run it with this script tag is a really great way to get up and get started. And actually, you can find in CodePen, there's a TensorFlow organization, I think, has some things to get you up and running and started. So let's see here.
Just npx serve, I think.
So what we'll do here. So the first thing we're doing with that script, that TensorFlow TFJS script, that's required. We need that to run the Cocoa SSD model. And then the second one is actually loading the model. And that's the one that's TensorFlow models / Cocoa SSD. And if you go to the TensorFlow site, you can see there's lots of different models that you can use and you can work through. And so, image detection is just one of the small things that we can do with that. What does Cocoa SSD stand for? Well, it stands for Cocoa is the name of the data set. I can't remember what that stands for, but SSD is single shot multi-box detection.
Looks like Cocoa is for common objects in context. Cocoa.
There we go. And so, we're going to be working with these together to identify objects in an image like you saw that we did. And we're using the TensorFlow object detection API as well.
Okay, so right. I have this
some things up and running.
Basic page. It's loading from the CDN, so we can see in here that we've got those models being loaded. And so I think we're ready to try something.
Excellent. And so one of the things that you'll see with a lot of the models and examples is that the answers are going to be console logged. Okay, so we can, add to what we're doing to have it printed, but a lot of the things have the predictions going through there, and that's what we're going to be learning as well. So um, Gant is always coming with the jokes. He has accidentally put an SSD hard drive in his hot cocoa. So that is not what you want to do. That's not the answer to learning how to do this. Okay, so what we want to do next is trying to think if we should start with we should probably get an image that we want to look at and see if it can identify those things. And so, like you saw in the pictures that we went through and on the Cocoa site, it's nice to have something that has a number of different things happening. So having restaurant people.
here's a bunch of stuff. Like there's food, wow, that one's got stock light. That's all stock. How do I not use those? Are these all iStock? Sure there's gotta be I don't want premium. Just give me the. Here we go. Here's some not stock images. I forgot that they got acquired.
Oh.
Let's see. Here's a good one. There's lights, there's people, there's glasses. So we'll use this image.
Okay, so we want to go ahead and save that and just import that into our repository that we're working on. Okay. Was that Gant Labord's voice?
That was Gant Labord's voice. That's a sound effect from back when he was on the show.
This is wild.
Okay, so sorry, I was absolutely not paying attention here. I have the image link, or I want the image itself.
Let's go with the image itself. Sometimes there's an issue with grabbing the link and being able to analyze it. So yeah.
Okay, so I have this, and I need to save this in the project.
Yeah. Yep, just save it right there in the project, and we're not going to do anything super complicated here, so you can just add that in right there, just so we can grab it and take a look at what we're doing.
Okay, so now here's the image.
No, what are you doing? It's not there.
It's pretty big, I think, so that's probably why it's not doing it. But that's okay. So we will. I think I broke my VS Code. I'm really excited about that. It's going to be a fun problem to debug.
It's always great. I love it when I break VS Code.
Super looking forward to it. Okay, so we have an image here. We should be able to grab it and console log something.
Yeah, so we have the model loaded. And the next thing that we want to do is you're going to add the image. So using, we're going to give it an ID because we're going to need to grab that ID and give it to the model. So let's see here. It should be like an image element, give it an ID of image, and then give it your source exactly. Import it there.
Okay. So then if I can figure out why my... Edge just decided to run at 1,000%. That's always a good sign. Is it frozen everywhere? It is frozen everywhere. This is fun. Good.
All right, this is excellent. Now you have learned how to run Tensorflow Js.
Okay. Is my whole... Yep. Do I need to force quit it?
Oh, you can do it. Come on, little compooper.
Yeah, we're gonna force quit it. Okay, let's try again. So we're gonna bring back Edge. And when it arrives,
it will arrive.
Oh, it's just straight up crashing as soon. This is promising. Let's try Chrome. How you doing today, Chrome?
I'm going to say too, like there are a lot of great resources for TensorFlow.
So Edge saw that I started opening another browser, and it was like, no, I work, I swear. Can I just restore what was? Oh wait, that's my work profile. How about we just use Chrome today? How about that?
Sounds like a good place to be.
Okay, so this is
You hackers, you dirty hackers.
okay. All right, so now we've got ourselves an image. It is working. I'll add just the tiniest bit of style to make that a little easier to look at. Okay, so now we can actually see the image. We've got it in here, and we're looking at the console, and we're ready to do stuff.
Okay, so now we're gonna place a script tag.
Okay.
And that's going to go below that image. We want to make sure that everything all gets loaded up, and then we can grab that image and console log the prediction. So now we're going to create a variable that's called, let's just call it image img this time.
Okay.
And then you're going to say document get element by ID, and guess what the ID is? Because there's one on the page.
Okay.
That's what we want there. And so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to load the model right below that. So go ahead and click enter. And so to do that, we're going to use, it's going to go Coco SSD, capital S, and then a lowercase SD. Yeah, there you go. Dot load. And we're calling that as a function. So you get the 2 parentheses there.
Okay.
And then a dot then.
Okay.
And we're going to go, we'll just call it model. And then, yeah, there we go, arrow function. We're going to go ahead and now detect the model. And we do that by saying model.detect. And we're going to pass it image.
Okay.
Yep, there we go. And then we're going to go make another then so we can predict what's happening here. So dot then, we'll just call it predictions here. And then another arrow function, we'll console log those predictions. There we go. And so we'll go ahead and give this a save, and we should see something happening. That is not a 404. Oh,
pixels
no.
Passed from pixels cannot be null. So
Okay,
I did something wrong.
It is not.
What up? What up? Oh, I need to... Hold on 1 second. Let me open... I like have my whole chat shut down and everything because of what crashed. So let me get this pulled up again so that I can actually see what everybody's saying. Okay, what was wrong? Image instead of image? No, this one, so the ID is image, so we're pulling it in like that. Oh, but wait, it doesn't need the hash because we're using image. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and do that. Get rid of that. That should work. Nice call. Who said that?
Thanks, Tony. And everyone else who called in.
Oh, yeah, everyone. They're
like, look, you doofus.
All right.
Okay, so we found 6 people. 1, 2.
We got lots of things.
This will work.
Yes.
Okay, so it did okay. It's like 77% sure that's a person, 73% sure that's a person. All right, we're getting, and like it looks like descending. Yeah, this one we're 50% sure that's a person. Or at least halfway sure that's a person.
And so it scores it between a 0 and a 1. And I think the default is 0.5 or 50%. So that last one, it's like just barely sure.
Mm-hmm.
And you see, there's a B box there. That's a bounding box. We'll talk about that. I think in a little bit, we'll get to that. But we'll be able to draw the boxes around the people in the image so we can identify like, okay, yes, that definitely was a person. And that's what it was looking at. So we'll get a little bit more specific here.
Nice. Very cool. Okay.
Okay.
So we've got basic image detection. And now if I swap this out for something else, like let's go here and look up pizza. Here's a pizza. And let's download. Right, and then we're gonna go to this one, I think. People in a restaurant. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so then if I copy this one and change it to be pizza, then when we come out here, I refresh, it's got a picture of pizza. And it identifies pizza. Okay, we've got
two things there.
ourselves.
Let's see. What does it see? It sees pizza twice.
Sees pizza twice. So I mean, this is pretty promising, right? Like this is very cool.
Yeah, it is, and it pretty simple to get up and running, and like you can see, this is pretty accessible. You see that you're loading that model and then you're detecting and making the prediction. And so, there are these steps there, and some of them make it easier than others to kind of walk through, but I think we get a general understanding of what we're looking at and how that process is working.
Yeah.
So the next thing I think maybe we want to do is try and do this without the script tags and using NPM instead. Does that sound like a
sure? Yeah, let's do it.
Place to go. Okay, so let's see. What do we need? We're going to have to add some more dependencies here.
Okay.
Okay, we are going to need to add stuff to handle backend. So we'll go back to TensorFlow, add another, it's going to be, let's see here, TensorFlow / TFJS.
Okay.
Dash backend dash CPU.
Okay.
Sorry, it was like I couldn't see it on my screen. We're going to add, it's going to be same thing, except instead of dash CPU, it's going to be WebGL.
WebGL, like that?
Yes. Well, it's coming in slower on my screen, so I'll let you know. Yeah, that's right. Okay, then we're going to do, the next time it's TensorFlow TFJS dash converter.
Okay.
And then let's see. The next one will be TFJS dash core. And we're going to see if this works.
Like TensorFlow TFJS core, like that?
It's TensorFlow and then / TFJS dash core.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and install these. And I think it should work from here. I know that I had some errors and I had to do some other stuff to get it up and running. But hopefully this works. If not, I have an idea of what we should be doing. So
it's like it liked all of those, so they are in.
Yay! Hooray! So we'll go back to that index. Well, okay. So now what we want to do is we're going to be doing a little bit of work on this, and we're going to do it pretty simply. But we're going to add an index.js file and an index.html. We'll get rid of the script stuff that we see in there. So,
okay, so does the index.js go in like a source folder?
You can put in a source folder, yeah.
Okay. All right, and then out here, we're going to get rid of these.
Yes.
And then we can also get rid of this.
So yeah, you know what? We might be grabbing that for the index.js file.
Okay, I'll comment it out for now.
Yeah, let's go ahead and comment that out.
Okay.
We'll clean up that index.html file first, I think.
Okay.
So we'll start with, we want to add, okay, so we've got the body going on in there. And then within the body, we'll want a div with an ID of app.
Okay.
And then that's just, you can close that div right there. That's fine. Below that, this is where we're going to add our image. So where we were detecting it before, we're going to add that image ID, the image element. There we go.
Okay.
That should be good. And let's see. Below that, then we'll add the script source pointing to our index.js file, where we'll handle all of the loading and the detection now.
Okay, so we have our script, and I'm assuming we need to tell Parcel to bundle this.
Yeah, you should. It should be fine if you just run npm install. Oh, okay. So if we want to add a script to the package JSON, it will be, let's see. So we want to build it. You'll run the build script, which is parcel build index.html. And our main is going to...
Is it parcel dash build?
It's just a space.
Parcel build
index.html.
Okay.
And then we want to make sure that that main says index.html, I think.
Okay. Let's try it.
And then it also would be useful to have a start, I think, in our script.
Okay, so it did do what we were after, which is it grabbed all the things that we needed. Now, granted, there's like nothing in this, so this is an empty file. But that's good. So, okay, so then a start script.
Yeah, might as well. And then that will be parcel index.html and then a space dash open.
Okay.
There we go. And so that'll let us get it up and running, I think. Or that's how I get it up and running.
If CLI might even just pick this up. Let's see what it does. Goes, does the thing. It opens. Ta-da!
Nice.
Okay, so now we have our...
Got some pizza.
We've got some pizza, which it's running in both Chrome and Edge now. Good. I'm going to quit Chrome because...
Yeah, this won't break anything at all. This will be
fine.
Excellent.
We're fine. Everything is fine.
So now we want to jump into that index.html or index.js file and tell it to do something, right? We got to get this started.
Do it.
So we need to import Cocoa SSD. So you can do import import all from as Cocoa capital SSD. Yeah, there you go. And then there you go. Grab that one.
Okay.
And then we want to import all as, I don't know if we need to do this or not. I don't think we need to import. Well, let's just, oh no, we don't need, sorry.
No worries.
I'm arguing with myself. This is excellent. Maybe we want to import Tensorflow Js, but we definitely want to import that backend CPU, backend WebGL at the top there.
Okay, so import everything as backend CPU.
You can just import, no, you don't need to import it as, so that like those packages that we installed, you can actually just skip the, just import and then start with the TensorFlow part.
Oh, so we're okay.
Yeah, we don't need those. We just need to make sure that they're there.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. And let's see. I think that this should be good enough to get us up and running. If it's not, we'll definitely make sure that we. Oh, look! It says there's an error already. Cool.
Do we need core for this to work? Also, I think this syntax is. Does it need
double?
I'm not sure.
Quotes. Let's see.
The singular double quote shouldn't impact it. Do I need to configure parcel? Is there like a parcel config or something?
If we have to add the other package, it should be up and running like this. I think we have. Wait, let me double check here. Cocoa SSD. We've got that. We've got TensorFlow JS. All right, maybe let's add the, so what ended up working for me was adding Regenerator Runtime.
Okay.
And so that's another package we'll have to add. And it's, let's see here. It's Regenerator -runtime.
Failed to install TFJS.
Backend G.
Hold on. Did I screw something up?
Yeah, maybe. Sorry.
GPL?
No, it was
WebGL. I'm just like,
WebGL.
oh, jeez. Okay, so the problem was me all along,
Is typing.
as it usually is. What is GPL? What was in my head when I decided that was a thing?
I don't. That's a tough one. GPL. Those are three very different letters. Gigantic purple lion. That's what it was.
Okay, but now it works. So
all right.
so
that's exciting.
cool. All right. Well, I'm always happy when the answer is that I'm incompetent. Like that's so much easier to deal with than like the computer is arguing.
Great. And that is a lot of what I've been dealing with. Okay, so we are going to, we also want to import that image. Do we want to import the image? Yeah, let's go ahead and import that image.
Okay.
All right, and then below that, we're gonna run an async function here, and we're going to, let's see, go ahead and essentially, I'm trying to think of, I think this is essentially the same thing that we did in the index.html.
This one here.
Yeah, so yes, exactly. Just grab all of that stuff.
Okay.
And we're gonna load. And then the model.
Like that?
Log predictions. Go ahead and run that and see. I think that could work. We loaded it, right? Yeah.
Regenerator runtime is not defined. Okay, so I am going to have to install the Regenerator runtime.
Okay.
That's okay. And so remind me, is that Regenerator runtime like this?
Yeah, and then / runtime.js after that. Rejected.
So I think, but this is what's in the package JSON is Regenerator runtime like this.
Yeah. Sorry about that. That's how we import it as the runtime.js.
Okay, so then we're gonna import Regenerator runtime.js. Save that. Let's run this thing again. And here we go. The Regenerator runtime is, yeah, it is kind of a polyfill. Is really at the core of it. I think it adds some support for babbly things, I think. Okay, so I screwed something up, and the thing that I screwed up is import image. From pixels.
Okay, so that's a TensorFlow thing. Pixels passed to TensorFlow. Must either be an HTML video element, image element.
So I'm wondering if this import isn't compatible with this call.
Okay. All right, let's think about this here.
Because we could do the same thing and like const image equals, document.
Yep.
Query selector, and then we'll get image, and then we can just drop that out. And then this will work because that's going to be the HTML element. There it is.
There we
There's
go.
our pizza.
Hello,
Good. So I don't know how Parcel imports images. Like that's always configured differently.
Oh yeah, you know
not
what?
Not this time, Tony, because I'm using query selectors.
What we could have done, I think, is kept that import and then just said image.source equals image, right? I think that could have worked the same way too.
Oh yeah, so we could have like built a DOM element for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And we
this
can,
is
you know what? That's easy to show. So let's do it. We will go with image equals new image, and then image.source equals
pizza.
image source, right? And
Yeah.
then this one should work. So let's give it a shot. There it is. So basically we're getting the image, but we have to put it into a DOM element, which is this, like an HTML image element. And that makes TensorFlow able to parse it because it's looking for this, not for just the source. Okay, that makes sense. I get that.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we've got this running this way now. Okay, so I feel like this is the second step, right? We can run it using the script. Now we're running it using npm, and I think probably the next step would be adding the boundary boxes, so we can see, like, okay, it's saying there's 2 pizzas here. What are the 2 pizzas that we're seeing? And so for this, we're going to be using Canvas. We're going to be working with the Canvas element, which is, I really never work with those. So this was my first time diving into working with that. But I think that MDN had a lot of really good resources on what that means and how to do it. So, you know, if people are interested in really seeing the breakdown of that, you can definitely, I have some links that I'll try and drop in the chat later. Okay, so we are here. We have this thing going on. What do we want to do next? We want to, let's see. We're going to use the get context method. Wait a minute. We need to add a canvas in here first, right? So that would be in the index.html file.
Okay.
So right there under image, right? Let's do a canvas. Let's give it an ID of canvas. And let's set the width and the height just so we can do that. We can
Are we looking for a certain width and height here?
I think no, we can go, why don't we go with 600 by, I think we could do 400.
Okay.
Okay, so now we have that canvas element there. What you're going to see is there's going to be 2 images after we run this. Not yet, I don't think.
I think we have to put it into the canvas, right?
Yeah.
But it is here.
One of them, yes. One of them will be the original image, and the other will be the one with the bounding box. And then the box is going to label what images it sees.
Okay.
And so, you know, if it was a umbrella, it would say umbrella. If it was a hot dog, it would say hot dog next to it. So we're going to go in that direction and try and get that up and running here. So the next thing that we need to do is we're going to use the get context method, and that is going to draw it on the canvas. And we're also going to pass it a type, which is 2-dimensional. So
give me just a second here. So we got to start with, like, we're going to draw the image, right? And so we start by getting the canvas, which is document query selector, and then we're going to get that canvas by ID. Right. And then I need to canvas get context, you said?
Yeah, you can do it that way. Dot get context and then pass it 2D as a string. So you're telling it it's a 2-dimensional image that we're seeing.
And do I need to save this?
Yeah, you can do it that way for sure. We can actually probably, do it all in here. So maybe, I was just trying to think. So we're going to draw the image, we're going to label the image, and I'm trying to think of, okay, what is the best way? Should we just put it all in here? Maybe.
Because then we can call it from here, right? With like pass in the predictions. And so we'll get the predictions here. That might make it a little bit easier to follow than.
Yeah, for sure. I think that does a really nice job of breaking it down. So the next thing that we'll want to do is draw the actual image.
Okay.
And so there's a draw image method in the Canvas 2D API. And so there are 3 things that we're going to do here. We're going to pass in the image, and then the x-axis coordinate and the y-axis coordinate. So that first thing.
Is it the image source, like this one? Or do I
Mhm.
need to pass through the HTML element?
I think.
Let's just try one, and then if we need to, we'll fix. And we want it to be top left, right?
Yep, that's right, exactly. And so then also we know that we're going to want to draw labels here. Okay, so we want these labels to be next to the pictures so we can see what it's identifying. And so we can add a, let's see, dot font. So context dot font.
The provided value is not a CSS image value, HTML canvas element, HTML image element. Okay, so we do need to pass in the image. So let's pass image, and we'll pass in image. Okay, this should actually do it now. Okay.
Oh, we got things there. Nice.
So, and here's an important thing. It doesn't auto resize. So our image is like kind of blown off the side here. Yeah, I'm going to actually switch this over to be the
Did that just work?
other one.
Okay.
Because it's the right aspect ratio.
So yeah, as we go through, it'll be good as well to see this has more people and more things that we can potentially see there.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's also important to note
yeah.
that we don't need this anymore. So this might make our lives a little bit easier. We can, because we don't need that image anymore.
There we go. Nice.
Okay. So that's that. And if we really wanted to cheat, we could like go resize this image to be 600 by 400. Should I do that just for really like ease of use?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay, let's go to Figma. You can, oh, this is, oh crap, this is the work one. Nobody look at that. That's all secret. Okay. Somewhere in here I've got my like
hackers,
crap.
you dirty hackers.
Okay, so let's make a little 400 by 600. And then we can drop our restaurant in here if I can reveal in Finder, which is over here. Drop this thing right in there.
Nice.
And there you have it.
I've never done that in Figma. That is very useful.
It's really, really handy. Okay, so now that I've got that, I can drop this one in here, and I'm just going to rename this to, maybe I'm going to, restaurant, so it's a little easier for us to find. And then in here, we'll use restaurant instead. Okay, so this should actually now fit the canvas perfectly. And the reason we're doing that is because I think our alternative is to do a bunch of math to convert the boundaries, right? And I don't want to do that.
Yeah, no, this is a good call. All right, so let's keep making our boundary box. So we want that text in there, and we're just going to specify what we want that font to be. So if you go back to where we've got context right below line 12, be context dot font, and then we can specify what that is. So let's make it 12 pixel, and then we can just go with Arial. So a space there.
Just like this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that should work.
Okay.
And so now what we need to do is tell it where to start the line paths and make sure that it has the opportunity to label all of the images, right? Because we can see here we've got 7 there. So we are going to create sorry, I'm looking at what you're doing.
Like set like loop through each one?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. That's what I'm going through. All right. predictions, and then we want to, we have to begin the path.
Okay.
And so to do that, there's a method called begin path.
Like that.
And then that is, so we're going to call that, yeah. The next thing is, okay, so now the next thing, there's a lot of like context dot, lots of different things. And this is where I go through and said, all right, I need to look through MDN and see what is going on with these things. So there's now a dot rect, RECT. And this is a method in the API that adds the rectangle to that current path.
And does that go, is it like next, like context dot, so say it again. It was
RECT, rect, like rectangle, but not with the rest of it. Right. Okay. So nice. It tells you what we're looking for there. So we want to make sure that we grab all of those predictions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so let's go ahead and I guess use a spread operator. Can we do that there? For prediction.
So basically we want all of the
images.
Okay, so it's prediction dot bbox, and that would be all 4 points. Okay, is that right? Am I
looking at what you're doing here? Predictions.bbox. Yep, that sounds like, that looks like that should work.
Okay.
And then what we also want to do, okay, so we have to finish drawing the line. Let's go ahead and give it a line width. So that would be
line width like that.
Yeah, exactly. And then we'll just make that 1.
Okay.
And then we want a stroke style. And so that's basically, we're just going to make a color there. We'll go ahead and make it green so we can identify what we're looking at there.
Okay.
And then the fill style, and that, let's go ahead and make that blue just to make it easier to differentiate what we're looking at.
Okay. Do I need to end path or anything?
So yeah, so we do that by doing context.stroke.
Like that.
And then, yep, exactly. And so that should end the path. And so we've got kind of like this style is created for what we want our bounding box to be. And then let's see, we can probably go ahead and, okay, do we need to create fill text for this? Yes. So how do we do that? Predictions. Oh, okay. So let's see. We need to be able to.
bbox is for bounding box. So that's like the outline around a person.
So we need to make sure that each of those, that we can grab each of those and give it a score and a class.
Okay.
So
we have the score and the class in prediction here.
Yeah. Let's see. We are, what are we getting? We've closed that stroke. Sorry, trying to read the chat and the code and think at the same time is proving to be difficult for me right now. Okay, so we want the score and we want the class and we want the box, the bounding box to go around those at, okay, so the y-axis for the text according to the image. That's what we're looking for here.
Okay.
So we want, how will we grab the predictions here? So prediction dot, okay, it's not going to be.
So it's prediction.class and prediction.score.
Right. But so we should be able to do just that, right?
How do you add text to the canvas?
Okay, so prediction dot score. There we go. And then let's fix that to 3. So
where where am I putting that? Like, is it a
We can-
context.text?
No, I think that we should be able to do that. Oh wait, context dot fill text. I'm sorry.
Fill text.
That's where I missed
okay.
it.
And then
Okay, so that inside of there, no, we're gonna that's a method that we're calling. So we're gonna put that inside the parentheses. Sorry. my brain had to reset. There we go. Prediction dot score, and then let's go to fixed there. So we just have like let's do 3.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, 2 fixed.
Yeah, so we don't have to look at all of the different things.
Okay.
And then we want the predictions class, so we know what we're looking at. Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
And then we need the bounding box predictions. Let's get the x-axis. So we need, here we go again, predictions dot b box 0. So we're going to call that first item in the array, I think.
Where do I put that?
Okay, let's back up a second because I didn't look at everything that was going on. So all of this can go in the fill text, that first one. So we don't need to keep doing that here. So you can grab that prediction.class there.
Prediction.bbox 0.
And grab that prediction.class that's right below on 24.
Okay. And so we're kind of making
we're labeling it here. So we'll be able to see the score and we'll be able to add the class to that.
So we can like put the score in there and try that whole thing. All right, let's.
Yeah, that looks good.
I'm just gonna save this and see what happens.
I feel like that's 90% of what I do all day. Save it.
Okay, so we got our first one, and then it didn't like 3 arguments required, only 2 present. So I missed the third argument, which is
we need so we have the x-axis, now we need the y-axis. So
that's going to be predictions. Actually, I can just go right up here and just put the 1.
Yes.
Okay. Let's give it a shot. And look at all of these people. Okay, so because of the I don't know how we're gonna probably need to do like
this is a rough one to do.
It's still not great, but we can see what's happening, right? Like it sees here's a person and here's a person and here's a person and here's a person. So it's definitely doing the identification, which is very cool. And then if we swap this out for another image, so let's put the pizza one in here. Or let's get a different one. Let's try something new. So we'll go to Unsplash and let's get dogs. This is fun. Okay, let's get these dogs. And then I'm going to copy the image and we'll put it right in here.
Nice. And so the nice thing that you can do with TensorFlow is you might have a model that identifies different types of animals, and then you can work with that data set to train it to be more specific. And so this will give us a number of different dogs, but if using, I think it's called transfer, you can teach it to say this is this type of dog, right? Like this is a Chihuahua, this is a pug, right? And so there's lots of things that you can work with. This is a good way to get it up and ready.
Now, this one's a bear.
Interesting. It's a bear.
Oh, I love it.
That is
great.
awesome.
Like this dog will be thrilled to learn that it is a bear.
And it didn't grab the rest of them, which is interesting. I think that it can do up to 20 at once. I'm not positive about that, but
and honestly, like these are pretty low res images, and like I'm copying from the previews. I'm not using the full size, so this is a 400 by 600 image. So there's a lot going on here that actually I think, am I even zoomed in? Like, no, that's 100%. So that's it's a pretty small image, and you can see down here like this does not look very much like a dog, right? This one looks like a dog. That one should have been categorized.
Yeah, or yeah, some kind of animal for sure. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of different things that can affect it, and I think like that's just kind of the larger concept of data identification in general. Like, how is the data set created? Did it look at different angles? Did it look at different lighting sources? Is there a wide variety of data? Because we find that a lot of the things that go into data sets that can affect them are biases that we might have and that we don't even recognize it. And so, one of the things about, data in general and in identification is making sure that we question it and we figure out like what the methods and the processes have been. And as we develop our own, the same thing goes for always asking ourselves,
Yeah, well, and you bring up a good point, right? Like it's really important to not look at any of these tools as a magic bullet. Like, it's not like you're gonna add machine learning to your website and suddenly you have no problems. You've now opted into a different class of problems. Like, you're now making sure your data is accurate. You're making sure that the detection isn't like I know Gant Laborde, who's been in the chat today, has a library called nsfw.js. And it's for detecting whether or not an image that was uploaded is inappropriate. And early on in the training process, it was identifying things that weren't actually inappropriate as inappropriate. And you have to be careful of that, because that's how you end up with things like the misclassification that comes off as super racist because somebody didn't look at their data set. And I know one of the classic examples is there are some machine learning algorithms that have identified Black people as monkeys. Right. So like those types of classifications are really dangerous if we're not paying attention.
There was another example that I heard recently where I think prisons were using machine learning to identify who got early parole or something like that. But the questions that were being asked were things like, did your parents stay married?
Oh no.
There were some, maybe did you have a parent in prison? And so a lot of the questions actually had nothing to do with whether or not they would be okay to be released early. But what they did was mainly identify Black males to not be receiving early parole, and more white, affluent, or middle class people were receiving it because of the way that the questions were created. And so, like identifying those things is so important.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
Jeff Goldblum was always marked wrong.
That's I mean, every picture of Jeff Goldblum is lightly inappropriate. Okay, so but I mean, as a general thing, so maybe don't use it to answer ethical questions. Maybe use your human brain for that. But for more like automation applications, this can be a really good way to quickly sort things. Or like I'm imagining now that if we were trying to do a like user submitted anything, this wouldn't necessarily be the judge, but it could flag things for human review, right? And it could say like, hey, this one looks like it might need another set of eyes on it. And then like a person has to go look and say, oh yeah, that's not, that is inappropriate. Definitely delete that. Or no, that one's not. And then you check the box and it goes through. So it's very like, I can see a lot of really exciting uses for this to just cut down some of the kind of mechanical labor that happens in moderation, in review. Are there any other like really exciting applications that you've thought of as you started learning more about this?
Well, so I know that Airbnb uses TensorFlow on their site, and I think that they have, the specially created model and system because it makes sense. But they have a lot of people who are uploading photos of their Airbnb and not labeling them at all. And so one of the things that their model does is run through those images, detects like, okay, there's a toilet. This is probably a bathroom, right? Like there's a stove. This is probably a kitchen. And so that saves them a lot of time in having to go through and, like making sure that things are labeled at all, and identifies these things and can apply the labels to things. But I mean, there's certainly I don't think that this was in TensorFlow, but there is, let me try and say this correctly. There's a project that's being worked on to help early identify postpartum depression. And they're using natural language processing to do that. Okay. And the way they do is, I think that you can either use your Twitter feed or your Facebook feed, and you give it access to that. And it's looking at, okay, how did you talk before having a baby? And now identifying patterns that indicated postpartum depression, and using that to, assign some kind of warning or indication to somebody that's using the app to say, like, okay, there's been this shift, and the accuracy was surprisingly high. And for something that is so hard to detect, just because I think there's a lack of a conversation around it, it makes it accessible to more people to get early care, which is huge in the long-term mental health of a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that kind of stuff is pretty cool. But yeah, that's definitely the not a way I would have thought that it would work, right? Like that's pretty cool.
Right. And another image detection example is, I think it's Carnegie Mellon was running a study with machine learning on brains of people who had depression. And so they were looking at using an fMRI to look at different brains, and then they were predicting whether or not certain treatments would work for people. So treatments like electroconvulsive therapy, or there's a magnetic resonance. I can never remember the third. There's a third letter in that. But so what they saw was, okay, these people have brains labeled A and D, and they will be responsive to this treatment. And these people have brains labeled, what did I say? I said A and D, whatever the other two are, B and C. These people will not respond to electroconvulsive therapy. And it was a small study, but it was huge because they were right. And so these are things that I think have been kind of behind this veil of, we don't really know what's happening with postpartum depression or with depression. And this provides us some resources to find the right help and support for people. And so, I think it starts with this. It starts with being curious about what you're learning, being okay with kind of getting it wrong. And, I will probably never be a master at machine learning, but I will know it enough to be able to talk about it, to understand what it can do, and to be able to find people who are experts and are willing to go down this journey of something that, maybe doesn't seem like it's going to make you tons of money, but it's certainly going to help a whole lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's cool to think about the impact that it can have on, one of the most limited resources we have is attention. And when you start talking about working with people at scale, one of the hardest things to do is pay attention to everything to make sure that things aren't going off the rails. And so one of the things that I find exciting about these use cases that you're talking about is that some of this stuff are things that you can justify saying, like, well, there was no way for us to know. There was no way we could have seen it coming. And this is a way to get that early detection, and not to say like that a thing is or is not happening, but to say, hey, we're seeing a pattern here. Somebody should look at this. Right. And so that to me is really, that is a positive use of this technology, is letting us know, like, where should our limited attention be directed, and making sure that, we don't miss things that we should have seen coming. Somebody's talking about self-harm in like Instagram algorithms. Like, if somebody posts something that looks like they're contemplating it, that should probably get flagged to humans for moderation. Like, if that's actually what's happening, like, don't robo dial the cops. That's a bad way to solve that problem. But it's a good way to say, hey, humans, go look at this post. Does that look like somebody who needs someone to follow up with them. Like,
Right.
it's I like that stuff a lot.
Well, it provides access to the conversation even, because a lot of those conversations are really hard to have with other people. And to say like, hey, there is an indication that I should talk to you. It almost provides a buffer between like being very upsetting and saying like, okay, there was a step that indicated that maybe you need some help, right? And just allowing something that seems more data driven to identify those things can lead to that, I think. Somebody also did mention, so I have 4 kids and they are, their ages almost 5 to 12 right now. And so I do a lot of Zoom calls. I work from home. And so sometimes I get the mom face on, they call it. Like they know when my kids have entered the room. And there should be some kind of image detection that identifies when the mom face comes on and just auto mutes for me. So I don't have to worry about yelling at my kids.
I can imagine a few people who would love that feature. No, I think that's super fun. Like I love those sort of out of the box applications of this. I think that sometimes we get a little too laser focused on what machine learning can be used for. But getting outside the box on that and thinking about, even fun stuff. Like I had Jason Mays was on the show and we made a password protected, like I can show you this. It was, let's see. Oh, I have a search now. Look at this. This is going to be amazing. I forgot that I always forget and I'm like getting ready to Command F. Here it is. Yeah, we did machine learning. Is this the one where we did it? We built like a demo where you had to show a picture of a fork. I don't have these objects, so I can't do it, but you have to show it a fork, a book, and a banana, and that's the password, right? So it's like fun stuff like that. So if you want to see how that sort of thing works. So not everything needs to be like, there are very big, like far-reaching implications, and there are also very fun, like playful applications. And I think that it's worth kind of digging into both and see what you can do. Just remember, nothing's a magic bullet, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, cool. So Bekah, this has been a lot of fun, and I feel like we got, like, this is very cool that you can so quickly get through and just get these boundaries grow. Like, I'm happy just to see this part where we're able to draw boxes and identify what's in an image. Like, this is a very cool thing to be able to do. And I can see a lot of ways that we can play with that we can have fun with that. Is there anything else? Like, where should somebody go if they've seen what we've done today and they want to go further?
So they have a lot of really great resources on the TensorFlow site. They've got a lot of different. It's so funny that you're talking about Jason Mays, because his CodePen is one of the ones that I thought was a really good example. So it's codepen.io/Jason Mays has some stuff there. There's also, if you go to CodePen, there's some TensorFlow TensorFlow templates would be another one. But let's see, there's this, where did I put that link? Oh, okay. So codelabs.developers.google.com has a lot of stuff on TensorFlow JS. And those code labs are really nice to walk you through everything, gives you an indication of how much time it's going to take you to do that, what you're looking at. And so you can go through a lot of things. I'm sure you can filter by category, I guess, to TensorFlow, maybe.
Yeah. So we can even, here's a filtered link, everyone. So lots in here. Holy crap.
Yeah. And so not all of that, I think, is TensorFlow JS, because there was TensorFlow Lite there, but there's a lot of good starters. And I would say, stick with it, play around with it. Some are more intuitive than others, or give really great instructions, but definitely reach out to other people who are talking about it or interested in talking about it, because I think it's lots of fun to kind of learn these things together and to play with, okay, what can we do with this? Object identification for our password or whatever,
And
or build me the mom face mute on Zoom.
Mom face mute is a good name for that. I like that. So also virtual coffee, that this is a place where somebody could go and just start a conversation about this, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. So we meet every Tuesday and Thursday, and that's the way to become a member at Virtual Coffee. We've got devs at all stages doing lots of different things. Gant has been coming, and I'm super excited because I'm going to be doing a live stream of Gant's book. So it's always next to, I actually have his sticker on my desk, but we're doing, see, I'm really good at making this blinding, learning Tensorflow JS. Is his book. And so I'm going to live stream through, I think, all of the chapters coming up here in a couple of weeks. So I'll be diving into Twitch myself. And I'm really excited to be able to do that because I've learned a lot already and it's been a lot of fun.
There's the book. Okay.
I'm sorry. I had a link to that. I just didn't drop it.
Yeah. So, yeah. And we've got several episodes with Gant on the show as well. So if you are interested in seeing what Gant has done on the show, we've got a few here. So you can just search for Gant and you'll find, here's Gant. Here's some fun with machine learning. I think we put some masks on people for this one. And then, with this machine learning one, we did a time warp filter, which was just chaos, super fun. Lots of fun things that you can do with that for sure. So head over to the site, search for Gant, and you'll find lots and lots of fun stuff there. Okay, with that, Bekah, I think we have hit a great stopping point. We've got places to go. We got something running. We're in solid shape here. Any parting words for the chat before we call this one wrapped up?
I just want to say thank you to everyone who has been here with me. This has been such a fun journey to talk through this and to do it in front of people is terrifying. And I appreciate everybody's kindness here.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you being here. Chat, why don't you hang on out? We are going to go and raid somebody here. So we're going to find somebody to raid. And with that, make sure, well, actually, before we do that, why don't we head back over to the Learn with Jason site and talk a little bit about our live captioning, which we've had rolling all day. Thank you so much to White Coat Captioning for making that possible. That is, as always, available on the homepage. And that's made possible through the support of our sponsors, Netlify, Fauna, Hasura, and Auth0. Make sure while you're on the homepage, all of these are clickable. And speaking of clickable things, you can head over to the schedule. We've got so much good stuff coming up. So next week, Lynn's coming on the show. We're going to talk about UI and UX. This is going to be really, really good stuff if you want to make the things you build look better, which we all should, because a little bit more beauty in the world is not a bad thing. Then we're going to talk to Marie Poulin about team workflows in Notion. This is going to be amazing. I don't know about you, but I use Notion all the time for work and personal stuff, so I'm really excited about that. We've got White Panther coming on to teach us about Next and Contentful. We're going to do personalization on the Jamstack. We've got Aisha, who's one of my favorite people in the world, coming on to talk about observability in Jamstack sites. And the list just goes on. There's so many amazing people coming onto the show. So head over to the schedule. Hit this add on Google Calendar button so that you get notified, not even notified, just so you see it on your calendar when shows are going to happen. I can't wait to hang out again. We will see you all next time. Thank you so much.